Some days, you don't hear your name spoken out loud. No phone calls, no one asking for help, no one needing your advice. Your stories, your steady hands. You sit with your coffee. The room is still, and a thought sneaks in, not loudly, but softly, like fog around your heart. Does anyone still need me? It's not self-pity. It's not drama. It's just a truth that many people over 60 whisper to themselves but rarely say out loud. You've raised children, helped friends, taken care of parents, supported coworkers. You've spent your life being needed. And now? Now you feel like a book that's been read and placed back on the shelf. If that feels even a little familiar, this video is for you. Not because I have all the answers, but because I want you to hear this. You are not forgotten, and you are still deeply needed. Not in the same way as before, but in a quieter, richer, more powerful way. In the next few minutes, we're going to talk about how to rebuild that sense of meaning, not by waiting for someone else to give it to you, but by remembering where it already lives. Let's begin with the first truth. Being needed isn't about being busy. It's about being seen. There was a man named Harold, 73 years old. Every morning, he would sit by the window and watch the street. He said, "Sometimes I wonder if the world would even notice if I stopped waking up." And then one day, the boy from next door, about 6 years old, knocked on his door. He said, "My mom says you know a lot about birds. Can you help me with my school project?" Harold cried that night, not because of the project, but because someone saw him again. And that's what we forget. We don't need to be needed by many. We just need to be seen by one. You might not be part of a daily routine anymore, no school drop-offs, no workplace check-ins, no one asking for your signature on things. But your value hasn't left. It's just waiting for a new shape. And that shape might look different now. Maybe someone needs your patience, your steady presence, your wisdom in silence, your ability to really listen without needing to fix anything. And sometimes, the one who needs you most is you. That's not selfish. That's honest. Because what we truly need after 60 isn't applause. It's recognition. It's the deep breath that says, "I'm still here. I still matter. Let's do something right now." Place your hand over your chest. Feel it? That's a heartbeat. Not of a person who's finished, but of someone still becoming. And that becoming starts not with other people calling you, but with you calling yourself back. You may not be needed like before, but you're still necessary. You may not be asked for favors, but your presence is still a quiet anchor. If you've ever wondered why you still wake up each day, maybe it's because someone, somewhere, will cross your path soon, and they'll need exactly what only you can offer. But what is that? What do you still carry, even when no one is asking? Let's talk about that next. Let's go back to that question. What do I still carry, even when no one is asking? It's easy to forget, especially when life slows down. When people stop calling as often. When no one asks for your advice or help with things you once did without thinking. But here's the truth. You still carry things the world needs, even if the world has forgotten how to ask for them. Like your calm. Like your ability to sit with someone without rushing them. Like the way you know what matters and what doesn't. That's wisdom. That's presence. And that's something only time can teach. You may not realize it, but there are people around you right now who are looking for exactly what you already have. The problem is, they don't always know how to ask. And we, especially after 60, often wait for permission before offering ourselves again. But what if you stopped waiting? What if you began to give, not because someone asked, but because it brings you back to life? There's a woman I met, 76 years old, who used to be a school secretary. After she retired, she said no one needed her anymore. Until one day, she walked past a park and saw a boy crying on the bench. She didn't ask questions. She just sat nearby, quiet, calm. Eventually, the boy said, "You remind me of my grandma." She said it was the first time in months she felt useful again. Not because she solved anything, but because she was there. That's the power of quiet presence. That's what you can offer, even when no one is asking. So let's talk about the small things, the kind that look like nothing, but change everything. Sending a message just to say, "I was thinking of you." Writing a comment on someone's photo, not out of habit, but from the heart. Smiling when you walk past a stranger, not because you expect something, but because you have something to give. These moments, they add up. They restore your sense of purpose. Because here's the truth. Purpose doesn't always come from big plans. Sometimes, It's found in small kindnesses. You don't have to mentor a student, start a nonprofit, or host a podcast. But if you want to, you can. You're not too old to begin again. You're just experienced enough to begin better. And maybe that starts by choosing to show up in small ways each day. Say hello to the new neighbor, even if you feel shy. Offer to help the young mom at the grocery store, even if she seems busy. Tell someone younger than you that they're doing a good job. You have no idea how much that could mean. Because sometimes, being needed isn't about waiting to be asked. It's about being available. It's about letting your presence be felt again, not through noise, but through meaning. And if you're wondering, why bother? Let me ask you this. Have you ever had someone hold the door for you when you were having a rough day? It's small, but it stays with you. That's the kind of impact you can make, every day, just by being who you are. But there's still one more thing we haven't talked about. The part that's hardest to admit. The question that echoes the loudest when the house is quiet. Do I still matter, if no one is watching? We'll go there next. There's a moment that no one really prepares you for. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It usually happens when you're standing at the sink, or folding laundry, or sitting alone in a quiet room. You glance around and think, if I disappeared today, who would notice? It's a thought that can sting, even if you don't say it out loud. And it's one that many people over 60 carry like a quiet weight in their chest. So let's face it together. Gently, honestly. Because this video isn't about pretending those thoughts don't exist. It's about reminding you of something deeper. You matter, not because of who sees you, but because of who you are. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman named Carol, 79 years old, widowed, children moved far away. Most days, she didn't speak to anyone. She said, "Sometimes I feel like a ghost in my own house." But Carol had a garden. And every morning, she tended it like a ritual. Pulled weeds, talked to the flowers, watched the bees work. She said, "I realized something. These plants grow whether anyone notices or not. But they still grow, and so can I." That sentence stayed with me. Because it's true. You don't need an audience to have worth. You just need roots. And your roots? They're your experiences, your values, your quiet resilience, the things you've lived through and survived. No one else may see how hard it was for you to get out of bed this morning. No one may notice how strong it is to keep choosing life when it feels lonely. But you see it. And that counts for more than you think. Because value isn't in applause, it's in integrity. In showing up for your own life. In choosing to be kind when no one's watching. In brushing your hair, drinking your tea, stretching your body, not for others, but for you. Here's the hard truth. Sometimes, people forget to check in. Not because you're not important, but because the world is noisy. And fast, and distracted. But that doesn't mean you disappear. It means you become your own witness. And in doing that, something unexpected happens. You become more present, more rooted, more real. And strangely, people begin to feel it. You walk into a room and something shifts. Not because you said anything, but because you carry something steady. And that steadiness? It comes from knowing your worth, even when no one claps. So here's what I'd love for you to try. Tomorrow morning, before you speak to anyone, speak to yourself. Say something like, "I am here, and that matters. I'm not invisible to myself. The world might be busy, but I am still full of value." Say it out loud, whisper it, write it, sing it if you want. Because the truth is, you don't need to be seen to be significant. And the most beautiful part? When you start believing that, others begin to see you more clearly too. But there's still one more step. One more place we haven't explored. Because even if you know you matter, even if you start showing up for yourself again, there's a kind of joy that only comes when you reconnect with others. With purpose, with something larger than you. And that's what we'll talk about next. You've spent a lifetime giving. Giving love, giving care, giving your time, your hands, your energy. And now, in this chapter, it may feel like the world has gone quiet. Like all the giving is behind you. But what if this is not the end of your giving, just the beginning of a new kind? What if the most meaningful connections of your life are still waiting to happen? Here's the truth most people never say out loud. After 60, connection isn't automatic, but it's still possible. It just takes intention. The invitations may not come the way they used to. But you can send your own. Not to everyone, not loudly, just quietly, intentionally, like planting seeds. There's a woman named Eileen who shared something I'll never forget. She said, "At 75, I realized that I didn't want to wait for someone to invite me into life again. So I made the first move. I invited 2 women from my church over for soup. They didn't know each other well, but they came. And now, every Wednesday, they meet. Sometimes to talk, sometimes to sit in silence, sometimes just to laugh at old stories." And Eileen said, "That one invitation gave me back a piece of myself." Connection doesn't have to be big. It just has to be real. And sometimes, it starts with asking, who else might be feeling this way? Because loneliness makes us believe we're the only ones. But we're not. There's a neighbor who eats alone every night. There's a widower who hasn't had a real conversation in weeks. There's someone who just moved to town and doesn't know a single soul. They're not strangers. They're you, in a different body. On a different street. When you reach out, you don't just offer your presence, you give them permission to come alive again. 2. But connection doesn't only come from people. It also comes from purpose. And purpose doesn't always mean something huge. Sometimes it's a weekly phone call to someone you know is struggling. Taking care of your plants like their companions. Writing letters to your younger self. Sharing your story, your recipes, your music, your lessons, with anyone who wants to hear. Because the deepest kind of being needed isn't about being busy, it's about being part of something. And you still are. You're part of this world. Part of this moment. Part of a long, unbroken thread of people who have loved, lost, and lived fully. So here's what I want to leave you with. You matter. Right now. Just as you are. You're not invisible. You're not forgotten. You're not used up. You are still a bridge between generations. Between stories. Between hearts. And if no one has said this to you lately, let me be the one. We still need you. Your presence. Your perspective. Your peace. If this video touched something in you, tell us. Leave a comment below. Say, "I'm still here," or, "This reminded me of who I am." Because when we speak, we help others feel less alone. 2. Thank you for staying. Thank you for watching. And thank you for still choosing to be here. Until next time, stay soft, stay strong, and stay connected.